Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to read another Curbside Collection story. Hope it's interesting, hope it's excited, and hope it brings us some, good vibe, good outcome. So let's dive in. I found the first mattress behind a nice apartment complex at 6 in the morning, still wrapped in a clean plastic like it had never been slapped on, except someone had stitched the seam shut with the thick black thread the way you'd close a duffel bag. I shouldn't have touched it, but rent was due in 11 days, and my landlord had just raised it enough to knock my budget off the table. I am a single mom with a 4-year-old, and figure it out isn't a pep talk in my house, it's a deadline. I'm writing because I've been listening to the stories you read, people finding strange, valuable things where they shouldn't be, and I kept thinking that doesn't happen to regular women like me. I work retail, I clock in, I keep my head down, and I do the math in my head until it makes me nauseous. I don't have family nearby, I don't have extra shifts waiting for me, and when something breaks, it doesn't break, it becomes a crisis with a price tag. This is so nice to hear that you're listening to my stories and hope it really brings sometimes value to my listeners. That morning, I wasn't dumpster diving like it was a hobby. I was doing what you do when you're boxed in, checking curb, piles, and trash areas for anything clean enough to flip kids' bikes, small furniture, unopened boxes. Most days you get nothing but broken particle board and sore bags. I was already telling myself to quit when I saw the mattresses stacked flat at the edge of the service lane. All three in plastic, all three looking new enough to belong in a showroom. The top two were factory sealed, the bottom one was sealed and then resealed by hand, with that black stitching running along on edge like a scar. I stood there longer than I want to admit, looking around for cameras and porch lights, listening to any door to open, nothing, just sprinkles tickling somewhere and the soft hum of the traffic in the distance. I pulled my truck closer and slid the mattresses in as quietly as I could, telling myself I'd sort them later and maybe sell them cheap to family that actually needed them. At home, I leaned them against my living room wall and tried to act normal for my daughter. Cereal, cartoons, socks that never match, while my brain kept replaying that stitched seam. By nap time, I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed a seam ripper from my little sewing kit, put on gloves like that would make me less responsible for what I was doing, and started cutting. The thread wasn't decorative, it was tight, like whoever stitched it wanted the plastic to stay closed no matter what. When I finally opened a gap and peeled it back, I didn't see foam. I saw bricks. That's very interesting. And to find bricks in the mattress, it might have been really heavy to carry that mattress with the bricks inside. So let's see what she really finds there. Not the kind from a hardware store, rectangular bundles wrapped in clear plastic, stacked neatly inside the mattress cavity like someone had built a hidden shelf in there. My throat went dry so fast it hurt. It didn't even touch them at first. I just stared, hearing my own heartbeat and the refrigerator motor cycling on like nothing in the world had changed. By the way, guys, I hope you see this little shortcuts here and I hope you don't mind it. It's AI generated. I just also wanted to give you not a listening mode but visualizing mode, so enjoy the video. Then my daughter called my name from the bedroom and the sound snapped me back into my body. I closed the seam with shaking hands, pushed the mattress behind the couch like I was hiding a weapon, and walked in to tuck her in with a smile that felt glued on. I kept thinking, if this is what I think it is, someone didn't throw this away, someone hid it, and people who hide things like this come back for them. That afternoon, I didn't go back to work. I said I was sick because I was. I sat on the kitchen floor with my phone and one question repeating in my head: do I call the police or do I pretend I never saw it? And while I was sitting there trying to breathe, I realized something worse. If one mattress was stitched shut on purpose, what were the other two really doing in the pile? I waited until after bedtime to go back into the living room. I didn't turn on the lights, just the lamp by the couch, because suddenly I hated the idea of being visible. I pulled the first mattress out again, reopened the seam, and slid one bundle out onto a towel like it might stain the floor. It was cash, but not loose bills. Tight stacks, rubber banded, then shrink wrapped. I didn't count it at all because counting felt like crossing another line, but I did enough math to feel my knees go weak. This wasn't help with rent, this was someone will come looking. Okay, now we figured out that she found some money. Just curious how much money she found, but she said that she didn't count it. I tapped the seam back up with the packing tape, showed the mattress behind the couch again, and then I stared at the other two, those factory sealed ones, like they were suddenly capable of lying. The plastic on the second mattress looked perfect at first, but when I tilted it, the light caught a tiny pucker near the corner, not a rip, a patch, like somebody had melted it shut again. I cut that one open with the same seam ripper, slower this time. The smell that came out wasn't fabric, it was metal and old perfume. Inside were velvet zip bags and a little jewelry boxes, tapped together so they wouldn't rattle. Okay, jewelry. One bag held a man's watch so heavy it felt fake, and when I wiped the face with my thumb, the glass flashed like a camera lens. Another had a thin gold chain with a pendant and a pair of earrings wrapped in tissue like they had been worn once and hidden fast. I didn't even like jewelry, but I knew this wasn't mall stuff. The third mattress was the one that made me stop breathing. It was sealed clean, no patch that I could see, but the weight was wrong. Too stiff, too balanced. When I cut it open, I hit something hard immediately. Flat edges under foam. I pulled the stuffing back and found a metal briefcase wedged inside. Wow. Wrapped in plastic and duct tape like someone was trying to waterproof a secret. The latches were stretched up like it had been opened and shut in a panic. Very interesting what's inside the briefcase. I got it open and my stomach dropped again. Not cash, papers, a thick folder with account statements, copies of IDs, and a printout that looked like a wire transfer record. There was also a small notebook with handwritten numbers and short names, initials, addresses, and one line that kept repeating, move before Friday. Suspicious. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, one text, no emoji, no greeting. You took the mattresses from the service lane. I need my property back tonight. How would someone know her number? Like, are they some, I don't know, detectives or how could they hack her phone? That's very weird. I didn't answer. I didn't even blink. I just looked at my front door because in my head I could already hear the knock. I stood there with that text glowing in my hand, and the weirdest part was how quiet my apartment suddenly felt. My daughter was asleep down the hall, her little nightstick throwing a soft stripe under the door, and all I could think was if someone comes here, she can't wake up to strangers in our living room. So I did the only thing that felt remotely safe. I didn't text back, I didn't argue, I didn't threaten. I slid the briefcase and the jewelry into a diaper bag, such a mom thing because nobody looks twice at a diaper bag. Then I shoved the cash bundles back into the mattress seam, tapped it closed again, and dragged all three mattresses into my truck like I was moving out at midnight. I left the apartment lights off, locked up, and drove straight to the one place in town that never feels empty, the 24 hours grocery store. I parked under the brightest cameras right by the cart return and called a non-emergency line with my voice shaking so hard I had to restart twice. I told them the truth, but not the dramatic version, just facts. I found three sealed mattresses dumped in a service lane. There was money and property hidden inside, and now I'm getting messages from someone claiming it's theirs. The dispatcher didn't put me on hold for long. She asked where I was, told me to stay in a vehicle, and said an officer was on the way. Well, I think that might be the right move to do in such situation. While I waited, another text came in, shorter this time. Don't involve anyone. She definitely been watching, like somebody's watching her moves and anything. That did it because if it was innocent, nobody writes that. Definitely. Two officers showed up within 15 minutes. I handed them my phone first, then the briefcase. Then I showed them the mattresses in the truck bed and where the seams were cut. One of them looked at the paperwork and went very still, in that way people do when they're trying not to show you're something bigger than you realize. He asked if I'd deposited any cash yet. I said no, and I meant it. He nodded once, like I'd passed a test I didn't know I was taking. They moved me into their cruiser to take a statement, and while I was answering questions, a dark SUV rolled slow through the lot and paused like it was looking for someone. The officer didn't need me to point, he just said quietly, "Is that them?" Then he leaned forward and keyed his radio. The SUV didn't stay, it drifted toward the exit and pulled out like it had suddenly remembered somewhere else to be. After that, everything sped up without me. The officers took the mattresses and the contents as evidence, gave me a case number, and walked me through what would happen next. They also did something I didn't expect. They called a patrol car to swing past my apartment for a few nights, just in case. When I got home, I stood in my daughter's doorway for a long time and watched her sleep because my hands wouldn't stop trembling and I needed to see something pure and normal to believe I hadn't ruined our lives. Well, that sounds like a real situation there, and I'm glad she called the police, and I'm glad that they gave her some safety nets, like they were watching her apartment for a couple of nights and stuff like that. But it really sounds like something very serious happening with those paperwork and everything. A couple weeks later, I got a call. The detective told me the paperwork in the briefcase matched an ongoing fraud investigation, money being moved, people being pressured, things hidden fast when someone realized the net was closing. The person texting me wasn't the owner, not in any clean way. They were someone trying to recover what they'd stashed before they could be caught. And here is the part that finally let me breathe. Because I reported it and didn't try to get clever, I wasn't treated like a suspect, I was treated like a witness. I didn't get to keep the money, I'm not going to pretend I didn't feel like that sting for one ugly second because I did. But a month after that, my landlord let me know my rent decrease would be delayed due to a building grant program I didn't even know existed, and my manager offered me steadier hours. It wasn't magic, it wasn't the universe, it was just timing that didn't crush me for once. Mostly, I got something I didn't have before. I stopped flinching every time my phone buzzed. I stopped jumping at every sound in the hallway. I can't explain how priceless that is until you've lived with fear sitting at your kitchen table like an extra person. I still think about those mattresses sometimes, how close I came to doing the wrong thing just because I was tired and scared. If there is anything worth taking from my story, it's not go look for treasure. It's this: if something feels too hidden to be normal, it's probably hidden for a reason, and you don't want to be the one holding it when the reason comes knocking. That's the end of the story. Well, such a interesting and, you know, um, changing its way story in terms of finding some things in the mattresses, then being threatened and calling the police and everything. But I'm glad it ended good for our woman, for the person who wrote this to us. And I wish you guys could share your stories in the comments. And if you do like to watch the video, please comment, subscribe, and leave a thumbs up. Bye!